guys know this one. Thank you, Rabbi Sam. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. That was really pretty. That was really pretty. You know, I love when other rabbis do the work of this rabbi. So a beautiful thing happened, which is that Rabbi Josh Warshawski, which some of you know, he's come before and he spent a weekend with us and did some great new songs for us. He is one of these multi-talented rabbis out there who also plays guitar, and he writes his own music also. And I just was tickled by what he wrote as a little prelude to our lighting candles in a moment. Maxine and Michael are going to come up in just a minute. He says this: there are many things, amazing things about living in Columbus, Ohio. But one of the strange things that happens is that Shabbat never ends. Well, it does, but at 10 p.m. when I'm almost asleep. Columbus is on the westernmost edge of the Eastern time zone, so it's almost as if the sun never sets. What a gift to have so much sunshine, especially when so much of the country is really, really, really hot right now. It has always been fascinating, he says, to me that during the summer, a time of light and sunshine and joy, we commemorate one of the darkest periods on the Jewish calendar, Bein HaMitzarim, between the narrows. The 3 weeks between the fast of Shiv'a Asar B'Tammuz and Tisha B'Av. So the 17th of Tammuz is a minor fast day and starts commemorating the eventual destruction of the temple. And then Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, which is going to be happening very shortly, commemorates the full destruction of the temples in Jerusalem. This is a period of mourning and sorrow as we remember many terrible things that happened to the Jewish people. But he goes on. And he says this Shabbat, the Shabbat before Tisha B'Av, is known as Shabbat Chazon, vision, the Shabbat of vision. So we're really going to have to keep our eyes peeled for the vision that is both metaphorical and literal. He says, due to the destruction of that Isaiah, the prophet, predicts in this week's Haftarah. But the Hasidic sage, Rav Avram Yaakov of Sadigora, who lived in the 19th century, has a different understanding of what this Shabbat can represent. He says, when you place a candle in a very dark place, its light is greater indeed. We know this. We know this. And it comes in many different forms. I don't think he's talking just about the light, although that's where he started, by reminding me that I'm not going crazy. It will soon be the end of the day. But I am not used to this, having grown up in California. It just feels so strange to me that the day seems to go on and on and on and on. But it's also that moment where you feel utterly alone, and all of a sudden, there's a little light in the form of another person. There's a little light in the form of poetry or music. There's a little light. It comes and it just bursts through, and you cannot ignore it. All of a sudden, you remember, all right, light. That happens. You might remember something that happened to you this week. You felt alone, or you felt frustrated, or you felt in some way just not quite living the life that you thought you were living, or you wanted to live. And that one person, or that one syllable came out of somebody's mouth, or that one memory just flickered across your brain, and you said, there's a little light. That is power. Light is power. And we know that even when we know destruction happens in the world, we have, in fact, that power that we can harness. And we can turn to each other, as I ask you to do right now, and wish each other a Shabbat Shalom. Spread that life and that light and lift it up. Turn to the people around you. You don't know everybody. I don't know everybody. Come on, say hello to each other. Max and Michael, will you guys come up? Come on up.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. These two dear friends, Max and Maxine and Michael. I got this, don't worry. I love when you guys come to shul because I just know you're going to be sitting there paying attention and swaying back and forth and always smiling. It makes me very happy. So will you do us the honor? And here's the page. If you're following with us, page 2, as we light the candles. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, you guys. And you guys all have to ask them about their origin story when they met as friends and how they continue to be friends all these years later. It's a good one. Take it away, Rabbi Sam.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Please join me in a reading at the top of page 3. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. I invite you to turn to page 14 and shift your eyes to the bottom of the page, that last stanza, part of Psalm 97, the words, Or Zarua La Tzadik. Light is sown, happiness is bestowed on those who seek justice and pursue righteousness. Yisrael Simcha. As we welcome the lights, we also need to welcome the Shabbat bride. Please turn to page 20 now for Lachano D as we greet her with all the anticipation that we've built up over this entire week. It's been too long. On page 20, and you might maybe remember this from last time. Put your hands together.
במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת קלה ונשמה מקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה ונשמה מקבלה. Verse 5. התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי 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 שידברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת קלה ונשמה מקבלה. Please rise. לקראת קלה ונשמה מקבלה. Verse 9. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצולה תוך אמונה עם סגולה. בואי חלה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת קלה ונשמה מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה ונשמה מקבלה.
be seated. On page 22 now, we know that light is sown for the righteous, but what are the righteous like a date palm? Please join me in Tzadi Katamar on page 22, the last stanza on the page.
It's about 8 lines up from the bottom of it. 8 lines up, the indented space.
Yes, last stanza. Tzadi katamar yifra ke'eres bavanon yizkeh shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvun beseva deshenim berananim yehu lehagid ki Ashar Adonai suri le'ohav ladavo. Turn to page 26 for the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba
Amen.
Be'alma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh
B'chayechonu v'yomechonu
u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imeru Amen. Yehi shemei Rabba mevorach le'olam olal me'almaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroma v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei l'kudusha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imeru. Amen. Please rise for the call to worship on the following page 28. Seated.
Let's turn everybody to page 31, please. And let's read together at the top of the page. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim.
Amen.
Please turn to page 33 now, and let's read at the bottom of the page together. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us, and the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 34. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Page 36. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Turning to page 39. Let's read at the top of the page together. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
So for this next melody of Mi Chamocha, I imagine for many of you it's actually familiar, though you maybe have never applied it to these words before. But it's a melody that celebrates the women among us. And if you haven't heard, there's some really exciting news of members of our congregation that really on a national level, and I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it yet, so I'm not going to say it up here.
We're talking about it in a few minutes, don't worry.
Okay, you're going to hear all about it. You'll hear all about it soon enough, but I just want to celebrate them tonight. And so if you'd like to sing along with me, keep your finger on page 40, but also keep another finger on page 342.
I can't count that high.
Say
tefele. Page 342.
And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang a song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That was a Micha Mocha Miriam song fusion. I loved that.
Oh, we bring it down a notch now on page 42. You'd only need one finger for this one. On page 42, we turn to the Hashkivenu, and I was thinking about, what this prayer means, and tonight I thought about how peace is a complicated thing, very complicated thing to achieve. It's literally beyond any one person to achieve, and so it makes all the sense in the world that we bring God into our prayer for peace as we pray for peace around the world, peace for our people and all peoples. We think of what's going on in Israel, the political strife there in this country, and many others. Please join me in Hashkivenu on page 42. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu shomrei nu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu shomrei nu lechaim. Ushmor tzeiteinu uvoheinu lechaim u'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Ushmor tzeiteinu
Down below, 6 lines up.
uvoheinu lechaim u'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu shomrei nu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu shomrei nu lechaim. We're so thankful for this Shabbat, which binds our people together week after week. We turn to page 9 and join in V'shamru together. Oh, not page 9. I'm so sorry. Page 44.
44.
44.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat, la'asot et haShabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat, la'asot et haShabbat לדורותם ברית עולם.
ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו
לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
כי ששת ימים
עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Well, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
This past week, I cried both happy and sad tears when I listened to the news from our fair state. First, the happy tears. Temple Israel's own Rachel Bloom-Katz was confirmed on the floor of the Senate in Washington, D.C. to become the next judge of the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. Can we just go like this? If you don't know Rachel, trust me, you want to know her. She is married to Micah Berman and the mom of Seth and Dahlia, and is just the most warm, open-hearted, wicked smart, that's wickedly smart, passionate Jewish individual you may ever meet, and now she will serve one of the highest courts in our land to determine law and shape the policies that directly affect the citizens of Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Michigan. Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois stated upon Rachel's confirmation, Rachel has proven herself to be a zealous and effective advocate for equal justice under the law, including by defending access to the ballot box, environmental protections, consumer rights, and protections against cruel punishments. She will be an outstanding addition to the Sixth Circuit. As I watched, I'm getting verklempt thinking about it, but as I watched Representative Raphael Warnock of Georgia announce the final vote, and I was nerding out on C-SPAN, watching every minute, I burst into tears when he announced the final vote. Yesh tikva, I said, there is yet some hope in our beleaguered country, in our exhausted electorate. With Rachel serving alongside our other two, count them two, other judges who happen to be Temple Israelites, Judge Jody Thomas, Franklin County Municipal Court, and Judge Carly Edelstein of Ohio's 10th District Court of Appeals, we have got some major female judicial energy, providing the chazon, the vision, and even-handedness our city and state so desperately need. These are giants in our time. Gedolim, meaning the great minds of our day. More like gedolot, because they're the female-identified version. Okay, so now I know you're thinking, why was I crying the sad tears? Well, the self-same week, a legislative bill, 245, a House Bill 245, has been introduced to the Ohio legislature to ban drag performances from the public parks, parades, and other places children might be, in an effort to, quote-unquote, protect children from being exposed to, quote-unquote, entertainers who exhibit a gender identity that is different from the performers or entertainers' gender assigned at birth. Such performances would be determined as potential felonies for their obscene nature. Forget the fact that drag performances in which kids are present at libraries or other venues, parades and such, never include disrobing or vulgar behavior. How, I ask, how is it that some Ohio legislators deem this necessary legislation when so many other issues plague our fair state? Consider Ohio's heartbreaking infant mortality, our unacceptable third-grade reading scores, rampant gun violence and substance abuse in big cities and small towns alike, the growing shortage of affordable housing, an increase in homelessness and hunger, and rural communities that have been completely left behind. As Amelia Robinson of the Dispatch wrote just a few days ago, it is truly obscene that anyone in the State House would have a millisecond to devote to a non-problem where drag queens can and cannot lip sync shablam, which is a dance move, people. You cannot shablam, and wave on parade floats. So those tears for me are of utter frustration and fear. Real fear. What is happening in our state is what is happening across our country and around the world, even in other forms, I dare say, in Israel. Judicial overhauls are on the minds and the dockets of some incredibly extreme lawmakers, and we are all at the mercy of our elected officials, as bill after bill has been introduced to try to chip away at the foundations of our democratic system as we know it. In this regard, ein tikva. Sometimes I feel, but you know me be an optimist, hopefully. Sometimes I feel very little tikva or hope. However, tonight, I hope that I can clarify for you the urgency of your voting. And this is where I just have to get political, my friends. I just have to sometimes. And I hope that you don't write me angry hate mail. Instead, I hope what you'll do is sit down and have a cup of coffee with me. If we are on opposite sides, anytime you feel that way, you can come to me, and I'll even pay for the frappuccino, okay? So I want to bring it, though, back to the Parsha for a second. Parshat Devarim, the opening of the final book of the Torah, Deuteronomy, we get a rundown, a little review. Think of it, 4 whole books, starting from creation, going all the way through our ancestors, coming down to Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses our teacher, and here we are. We're at the beginning of Devarim. And what's happening there is we get a review of the many giants that the Israelites will have to face once they enter the promised land. Giants? Giants, yes, I said giants. And 7 different kinds with 7 different names, each one worse than the other. Rephaim, Anakim, Emim, Nephilim, Zamzuzim. Now, Zamzuzim, this is an interesting one, friends. It comes from the word zimzum, which means intentionality or planning. And here's what I want to say. It's written in one of our midrashim. This was because, they're called zamzumim, because they accomplished whatever they planned. Walter Stephen, a literary critic, said, far from symbolizing a mature culture, the folkloric giant represents the perils that had to be overcome in order for that culture to be born and thrive. These bad giants are not a thing of the past, not some distant past. They are rather a much more recent, even ever-present issue in the world as we know it. Hence, in the words of Devarim, we may need just to say that we should be prepared to be giant slayers. In our day, that means one thing to me, and one thing only. We must vote. And voting is something hanging in the balance in this country and in every state and city. The Columbus Dispatch today offered a great article on issue 1. So I'm going to talk about issue 1 for the next few minutes, so if you want to doze off, start right now. But I feel the need to talk about it because it is so confusing, and this is where the Zamzumim come in to confuse us, to have it look like it's just another issue, but it's not. It actually can undo so many of the foundational issues and structures that are in place for us as voting citizens of this particular state and country. And so, if issue 1 passes, it would do 3 things. 1, it would require 60% of voters, not 50 plus 1, as we have it now. It would require 60% of voters to pass a new constitutional amendment. We love constitutional amendments. I mean, first of all, we love bureaucracy in this country, but constitutional amendments are those issues that you and I care about, we lose sleep over, we want to change. So what we can do is we can propose these constitutional amendments, and then we got to get a bunch of signatures and get it on the ballot. That's what's happening on August 8th. So I'm going to tell you very clearly at the end, if you vote yes, here's what happens. If you vote no, here's what happens. But one of the things that happens is that we cannot lose sight that there are these things called supermajorities in and of themselves, which go against the foundational American idea of majority rule and one person, one vote. But we also can't lose sight that this political maneuver is a direct response to a growing movement to protect reproductive rights in our state. Are you with me? And so now these extreme politicians are pushing for a total ban on abortion. However you feel about abortion, that is an undercurrent, but it's become a flashpoint because of this legislative proposition. Most Ohioans, it should be noted, want freedom to make their own health care decisions. So that's number one. Number two, Issue 1, if it passes, would require citizens who want to place an amendment on the ballot to collect signatures from at least 5% of voters from the last gubernatorial election in all 88 counties, instead of just the current 44. That is a huge lift. It takes time, it takes money to get signatures for these proposed amendments. Doubling the requirement will only benefit special interest groups that are well organized with millions of dollars on hand. Changing the rules could make it harder to see issues any of us care about landing on the ballot. I've said that. But number three, the last thing that issue 1 does, if it passes, it eliminates a 10-day cure period that allows citizens to replace any signatures deemed faulty by the Secretary of State's office. So that means this will create an obstacle for citizen groups, as signatures can become invalid if someone moves or dies after signing a petition. So that particular issue, eliminating that 10-day period, will make things less accurate, essentially. We're not going to have those checks and balances in place. So Larry Long is a former director of the County Commissioners Association of Ohio, and he says what this legislation is really trying to do is to make it more difficult for the ordinary person on the street to feel involved in their government and be able to participate in it. I don't think we'll notice it until this is gone, which is why it's so important to talk about it right now. No other state requires groups to get signatures from every county for a citizen-initiated amendment, and it places an undue burden on the citizens to make their voices heard. I have so much more that I want to say about this, but I'm going to cut to the chase. I feel the need to underscore the fact for you that issue 1 is an opportunity, some might call it a shill, to undermine the institution of one person, one vote as we know it. Why is it essential that issue 1 does not pass? Because if it does, then constitutional amendments will be impossible to put on the ballot. Those amendments represent the constantly evolving concerns and needs of the citizens, we the people. And I was thinking about this today, and I thought to myself, you know, one thing that we know as the Jewish people is this beautiful, beautiful thought that comes from the Talmud, hafochba vehafochba dechulaba. You should turn this Torah, turn it over and over again. Everything you learn, constantly compost it, turn it over and over and over, because why? If you stop doing that, then time freezes and you get nothing. You don't get anything new and blossoming and difficult What do we do if we have those opportunities taken away from us? So I just feel like that would be an incredibly devastating thing. I feel also that you should know your yes vote will chip away at our democratic system. Your no vote will allow us to have our voices heard, plain and simple. And you get to vote however you want, my dear friends. And of guess, again, you get to argue with me about this, not on Shabbos. But, email me for sure. I want to say, as writer Josh Shiowitz says, he was reflecting on Devarim again, and he said this: as Moses and Joshua might have intuitively understood, to succeed as a giant slayer, someone who is willing to go against the grain and to voice unpopular truths requires courage and the willingness to spend time in the metaphorical wilderness. But the consolation is that doing so, at its core, is God's work, that one can be chazak ve'ematz, strong and resolute, as our Torah portion commands us to be, in the knowledge that the Lord your God will battle for you. So I say to you, my dear friends, you are gedolim. I mentioned those gedolot at the beginning, those giants in our time. We have to be the giants in our time. Don't think that you're just voting. That's why you get a sticker, because you voted. You get bragging rights. You get to say, I participated in this system. Oh, there's one right now. Thanks for voting, Alan. And I just doing your job. Well, I really do say to all of us, these are such vital issues of our time. Thank you for listening. Chazak ve'ematz, be strong and of good courage, and Shabbat Shalom. Let's turn to page 46 and pray it out a little as we rise as we're able for the Amidah. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Page 48. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hakol, ve'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. Page 50. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. Page 52. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. You'll continue on your own in silent reflection through pages 62, 63. Be seated whenever your tefillah, your prayer, is complete.
We turn to page 253 now as we think of those in our community who are in need of healing. I'll go ahead and share the names that I'm aware of now, but please do share as well. Think of those who are in need of healing. Lev Hershel ben Batami v'Yaakov, Chana Ruth bat Chana v'Theodore, Naomi bat Miriam v'Harav Yosef, Miriam bat Simcha v'Shifra, Eliana Shai bat Binyamin v'Shira Leah, Gabriela bat Nechemia u'Dvora, Ari Benjamin ben Tova, Avinu bat Simcha v'Shira, Harav Michal Masha bat Chaim v'Simcha, Elia ben Shmuel v'Sara, Peggy Summer Baker, Pam Beeler, Ellie Bloom, Becky Cottle, Pat Cottle, Ronald Cohen, Barbara Cooper Schaefer, Carol Crawford, Hank Feinberg, Larry Footer, Elaine Dank Freeman, Karen Gillen, Robert Guinness, Suzanne Greenbaum, Kiona Greenwald, Annette Harris, Gilbert Herwood, Ethan Kadish, Jeff Cape, Chris Cloth, Jesse Cloth, Kaya Cloth, Kitty Konigsack, Jerry Cruz, Marilyn Lassen, Cheryl Logan, Sarita Moss, Mike Oser, Anthony Paneth, Clark Patton, Steve Pollock, Mindy Sandifer, Steve Schaefer, Annette Turner, Barbara Whitkin, and Myra Evich. If there's another name that's on your heart, please go ahead and share it now. We hear these names, and we only wish them refuah shlema. May they have a full healing of body, spirit, and mind. Please join me in the Misha Berach now. Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Ve'imoteinu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe Berach Imoteinu Mekor HaBracha Ve'avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Beautiful. Please turn to page 282. We rise as we're able for Aleinu. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 287. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד. Please have a seat, everyone. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see. In light we are seen. The flames dance and our life burns down and gutters. There is no end. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen, yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move into the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. We are remembering in our congregation more recent deaths and then also deaths that occurred at this time in years past. If you are joining us during the period of Shiva, the first 7 days after having lost someone you love, if you would please stand so we can recognize your loss. Thank you. Trish, do you want to say the name? Thank you. I'm sorry. We also are remembering in the period of Shloshim, the 30 days, Maureen Nolan, Robin Gold, Don Bloom. If there's anyone else in our presence who is in the period of the Shloshim, the 30 days, if you would please stand. If there's anyone joining us here who is observing the first year after having lost someone you love, please rise so we can recognize your loss. And tonight we remember the following yahrzeits. If you hear your loved one's name, you can stand so we recognize you. Henry Abel, Gerald Altman, Esther Tiber Balzer, Herman Davis, Ethel Dunn, Manny Ellman, Anna Feinberg, James Ferber, Alan E. Friedman, William Fritz, Seymour Gerby, Estelle Goldstein, Sadie Gordon, Arthur Gross, Joanne Sulkis Jennison, Lester Jipp, Harry Klein. We remember S. Richard Kotzer, Ida Marks, Jack J. Marshall, Helene Paselnik, Joan Friedman Rosenblum, Francine Shapiro, Annette Zeitzman Schusterman, Morris N. Siegel, David M. Solomon, Max Stein, Sidney Steinman, Lawrence Stempel, Alvin W. Stone, Dora Summer, Isaac Tiber, Ruth Krumholtz Tiber, George Unger, and Harry Zimmer. Are there any additional names? Then let's stand together, everyone standing side by side as we remember them in solemn testimony to that unbroken faith which binds one generation to the next. We say, Yitzgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'olma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ul'olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'olma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace bring peace to all who mourn, comfort to all who grieve. Zichronam livracha. Let their memories continue to light the darkness, and let us remember them always. And we say, Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated, friends. Thank you, Rabbi Sam, for these beautiful melodies that you brought us.
Thank you, Rabbi Morris, for the very motivating and encouraging Devar Torah.
Thank you. Would you like to announce when Tisha B'Av is?
Oh, I know it's on Tisha B'Av. I forget the Gregorian date, though.
I think it's the 25th of July. I think it's July 25th.
Wednesday or Thursday of next week, I believe. Yeah.
Check the website.
Wednesday, thank you.
That's why we have a website.
Okay. I know it's Tisha B'Av, but yeah. Anyway, but it's a solemn event, no doubt, but it's always good to have the community come together. Are we having it here? Is that
yes,
right?
We're having it here, 7 o'clock. The sun will not be down yet, as you can tell, but we do that so that so many of our congregants can come and be together and drive home in a little bit of light. But yes, be prepared to come. It is a really solemn event, but really beautiful because the Jews really know how to make something terrible beautiful. So we hope that you will also join us for that, and then check our website.
Yeah, I also want to mention tomorrow evening we're having a potluck, which original intention was to have a chance for our families to come together, but it became a larger community thing. So you're welcome to come. It's a potluck in a local park. To find out exactly where it is, just come talk to me. Gonna have plenty of food. So it'd be great to see you there, and join us for Havdalah tomorrow at 5 o'clock.
Beautiful. You want to bring your kos and we'll come over?
Yes. Hopefully it's here.
Yes, you're going to build your own sandwiches. Isn't that fun? I think it's fun. All right, so here we go, everyone. We're going to make Kiddush together and thank God for this beautiful Shabbat day. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחיל לנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
אמן. חיים.
בבקשה.
אוקיי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם
המוציא לחם מן הארץ. Amen. I want to thank really quickly my friend Gail Ferber, who's remembering Jimmy tonight. And I was privileged to be there at the end of Jimmy's life, but it lives on. And I'm so happy that you're part of our little family here. Thank you.
Big thanks to Jody and Natalie making sure that this whole thing was streamed online. Hi to everybody on YouTube. And Kylan setting us up. And
Officer Evans for helping keep us safe. And all of you.
Oh, say shalom bimroma. Oh, yeah, say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ve'imru.
Everybody gets up. Come on. Get up. Oh, say shalom bimroma. Oh, yeah, say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ve'imru.
Shalom bimroma.
Bimroma. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ve'imru.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.